What is up, guys? In today's video, we're going to be talking about Fortnite's new controller setting in Chapter 7, Season 3, and that is going to be the Tweak Zone setting. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what you think of the Tweak Zone setting, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolveJake, just like my channel name is, and it is underneath the webcam at all times. So the new Tweak Zone setting completely changes how aiming can work for you in Fortnite if you are a controller player. So typically in Fortnite and pretty much any shooter I've ever played, aiming and moving your aim stick also moves your camera. And so you kind of turn your view as you're moving your crosshair. But with Tweak Zone, you are able to make small adjustments to your reticle's position without actually moving the camera. And this allows you to make small, like minor adjustments and be more precise with your aiming. Because, you know, what adjustments you would typically not be able to make because you have to turn the whole camera to get there. You just have to, you know, make that little wiggle with your reticle essentially. And this works hand in hand with your dead zone, basically. Controllers have dead zones, and what this is how much you move the analog stick before movement starts to register in game. And this is also a setting that you can adjust, you know, how much of your controller dead zone is a thing. Typically lower dead zones feel a little bit more loose, but also allow you to, you know, have more control over what you're doing. And this Tweak Zone setting allows you to make adjustments within typically what would be your dead zone. So that's normally area where the game really isn't registering movement properly or at all. And now using the setting, you're able to make small adjustments within your dead zone. And again, that can be really helpful for making small adjustments. So I'll have an example of what this looks like on screen. This is very extreme. I basically made the settings max, and you'll see that my crosshair is like very wiggly. And I know it looks really strange, but I tried to make the settings look extreme here just so you could see basically what the Tweak Zone is doing. This is a better look of what my settings actually are currently with it. And you could see that wiggle or like the adjustment of the reticle without moving the camera. It's still there, but it's not as extreme as that first example was, right? That is essentially what this setting does, is that wiggliness or looseness to your crosshair where it isn't actually tied to your camera's movement. And again, this should allow you to make smaller adjustments than what you would typically be able to make, and then that would help you be more precise with your aim. And when it comes to Tweak Zone, there's two main settings that you're going to be able to adjust: the Tweak Zone and then the Tweak Offset. The Tweak Zone setting is basically how much of your stick moving activates the tweak, and the tweak is going to be that wiggliness of the crosshair, right? If you have this at 0, it will only be your dead zone, because as I said, your dead zone goes hand in hand with this. Normally, just having the setting on allows you to make adjustments in your dead zone, and putting it higher than 0% would potentially be higher than what your dead zone is. I'm not sure if it matches, like if you have a 20 dead zone and then you make the Tweak Zone 20, I think that would still just basically be your dead zone. But essentially, this Tweak Zone setting is how much of your stick moving activates the tweak. The higher the number, the more stick movement still activates tweaking. So at 100%, you would always be using the tweak regardless of how much you're moving your analog stick around. And at 0, it would only be your dead zone that is using the tweak setting. Basically, leaving this at a lower number means when you're barely moving the stick, that's when the tweak aiming will be activated. And then if you're moving your stick a lot, you'll be doing the regular Fortnite aiming where your crosshair moves with it and you get that, you know, regular aiming feel. So again, Tweak Zone, in short, how much of your stick being moved activates the tweak setting. The Tweak Offset is how much the tweak can actually move your crosshair and basically the area of wiggliness that you have. I think of this of like the sensitivity for the tweak kinda. At its max, it makes everything feel incredibly fast and loose, but at a lower number, it allows you to have that tweak aim while still having good control. A really high number is going to be really wiggly and really loose, and a lower number, not so much. That's going to be a little faint wiggle or like a small aspect of it, but not completely taking over your aim. And then another setting here is going to be always on, only for scope weapons or for scope weapons and aiming. And then there's also an option for building and editing depending on what you want to do. And in short, my biggest piece of advice for the setting is just to go into creative and try it out and play around with the values and get a feel for what changing these values does, because it's a very unique setting. And settings are always very feeling based. It's like just a matter of preference and what feels good to you. But with this being, I haven't seen anything like this in any other game in my life. So like with this being a very like new concept, I think it is just best for you to try to go into a creative map. I'll have a code for an aim map on in the description, and I probably played it throughout this video. Go in there, adjust it a little bit. You know, make one really high, make them both really high, and see how it feels. Turn them low and see how it feels. Just play around with it and kind of see how it feels to aim using this. Because I can try to explain what it does, but it still is very feeling based, and I feel like you get a much better understanding of how it is faster just by doing it yourself and playing around with the numbers and kind of just, you know, seeing how it feels. Again, in short, the tweak zone is how much of your stick movement activates the tweak, and then the tweak offset is how much the tweak actually moves, or basically the sensitivity for the tweak. Both of these numbers being lower is going to be more controlled. A low tweak zone means when you're barely moving the stick, that's when you'll activate the tweak. And then the tweak offset being low means you have a little bit of tweak, but not like, you know, way too much. My settings for this, I'm not 100% sure on, you know, what I want to use. But for now, what I've settled on is only scope or aiming. So I don't want it all the time. I like scope or aiming. 10% tweak, and then 1.5 offset. And I wanted the tweak to be very minor. After playing around with it and kind of seeing how it feels, I thought that like I could see this being helpful for aiming and making small adjustments, but I didn't want it to be super loose and very fast. So I wanted it to be there, but I wanted it to be very minor and still be very controlled. And I initially tried it always on and with like higher settings. I started higher than what I thought I would like and kind of ramped it down. And I did find it useful for making small adjustments at long range or tracking people pretty much immediately. The first game I ever played with this, there was a few AR kills I got, or like medium to long range kills I got, where it's like, yeah, I can feel the setting helping me there. I don't know if I would have gotten that kill without this. But having it really fast, or not really fast, but like faster than what I have now, I felt like my kind of close to medium range SMG aim or pistol aim wasn't as good as what it would be normally. A lot of close range fights you're going to be hip firing, but there also are those situations where you do aim in those fights, especially when you're like sliding around or an enemy's using mobility or something like that. And in those fights with the higher numbers, it just felt, you know, too loose to me. Like it felt like my sensitivity was too fast when I had it higher. And then I also really did not like it at all for hip firing. I might try it always on again at some point in the future, but the first day I tried it, I played with it always on the entire day, and I felt like my shotgun aim was just absolutely terrible that entire day. And I feel like in most close range situations, I don't really actually pay attention to my crosshair. I more so look at the enemy, and then having a consistent feel for my sensitivity means that I can just like focus on the enemy, and I can get my crosshair there because I'm used to aiming with the sensitivity, you know. And the tweak zone setting, I feel like really threw that off. But that doesn't mean that, you know, everybody will dislike the hipfire aspect of it. That was just how I felt playing with it for one day. And as I said, maybe I will go back to it and try it again with the shotgun aim. But just my initial experience of, and it wasn't just like 1 or 2 games. I left it like that the entire day. But that initial day, I just felt so useless with shotguns. But pretty much immediately, I noticed the medium to long range benefit. And if you are someone who like really struggles with the third-person weapons on controller, it could be a bit harder to make small adjustments with like the third-person ARs at long range. I think this tweak zone setting can really help with that. It just comes down to finding a line where, you know, it helps you, but also doesn't hurt you in the situations that I kind of already touched on. And for me, what that ended up being was just having it on, but having the settings be really low. But settings are a matter of preference, and kind of a lot of it is just feeling based. And so it isn't something I can answer like, yeah, you should definitively turn it on and 100% use these settings. I think it is very much something that you need to play around with and figure out what works for you if it is something that you do want to use. But as I said, I definitely think there could be benefits there as far as making small adjustments in medium to long range. But let me know what you guys think of the tweak zone setting if you have tried it out down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, found it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.